All right, hey everyone.
Hi, everybody.
So in this video, we're going to be talking about mean, median, and mode. All right, so an average is a measure of central tendency. Oops, if I can get my pen working, there we go. For a set of numbers. Three commonly used measures of central tendency are mean, median, and mode. So let's take a look at mean first. To find the mean of a data set, add the data and divide by the number of data. So it's the same thing as just an average. All right, so if you've ever taken an average before, you know what a mean is. All right, so if we have some test scores here and we want to find the mean, then all we do is first add them up. So we just do 19 plus 24 plus 67 plus 74 plus 82 plus 89 plus 93 plus 96. So if you put all of that into your calculator, which I need to do right now, get 544. All right, so that's the sum of it. And then we just need to divide by how many numbers there were. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So we do 544 divided by 8, and we get 68. And there's our mean. All right, so a little note right here. The mean is the most sensitive measure of central tendency. So it weighs each piece of data equally, as in all of the data is included in this number 68. All right, next up, let's talk about median. So the median for a set of data that's ordered is the middle value, right? Or if there's two middles, you take the mean of the middle two values, right? So for example, this data is already in order. So if we look at this, we see that the middle is 19, right? And if it wasn't already bolded like this, easy way to find the middle is just keep crossing off the first and last. So first and last, still have numbers left. First and last, we're left with one number. We know that's the middle now. So the median's 19, just the number in the middle. For that second set, if we do the same thing, cross off the first and last in pairs, then we see that we have two middles this time. All right, so if we have two middles, we take the mean of them, which just means we add them up and divide by how many there were, which in this case is just two. So 74 plus 82 is going to be 156. And divide that by 2, and you'll get 78. All right, another example. The salaries for the workers in a small company are these numbers here. We're going to find the mean and median of these salaries. And we're going to ask ourselves which measure is the best measure of average for the data. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is the mean. So if we want to take the mean, then we need to add up all of this data. So just right here, I'm just going to put sum. If you just add up 34,000 plus 22,000 plus 240,000 plus 42,000 plus 30,000, you will get 368,000. To get the mean, we just need to divide that by the number of data values there were. So in this case, there were 5, right? So if there's 5 data values, we just divide this by 5. Oh. Divide that by 5, and we're going to get 73,600. That's the mean. All right, what about for median? Well, remember, median was for an ordered set, right? So just to make sure that we get this right, I'm going to go ahead and just put these numbers in order. So we have 22,000. Next up would be 30,000. Then 34,000. 42,000. And 240,000. All right, then to find the median, cross off the first and last, and cross off the first and last. When we're down to one number, that's our median. So it's 34,000. And I don't know why my keyboard keeps coming up like that. There we go. So which best represents the average of all of these salaries? Well, in this case, I would argue that it's the median, because the median is closer to most of the values. There was that 240,000 that really threw off the mean. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about next. The salary 240,000 in this set of data is what we call an outlier. So an outlier in a set of data is a data value that's much higher or lower than all or most of the other data. All right, so mean is affected by outliers a pretty big amount. On the other hand, median kind of just automatically ignores them. All right, so you don't have to worry about them as much there. All right, last one is mode. So the mode is the piece of data that occurs the most frequently. All right. So example 5, find the mode of the shirt sizes of 8 children in a classroom. So we have 8 that shows up twice, 10 that shows up 3 times, 12 that shows up twice, and 14 that shows up once. So the one that shows up most often was the 10. It showed up 3 times, right? So the mode is 10. That's the data value that showed up the most. All right, example 6. Again, we're just going to look for what value shows up the most. So how many times does 1 show up? We got it once, twice. What about 2? 2 just shows up once. 3, again, just shows up once. 4 shows up twice. And 5 shows up one time. So which data value shows up the most? Well, in this case, there's actually 2 of them. So 1 showed up twice, and 4 showed up twice. Sorry, keyboard did it again. And it highlighted everywhere. Okay. So 4 showed up twice. So in this case, you actually have 2 numbers that are your mode. 1 and 4. All right, so if there's a tie, both of those numbers, or all 3 of those numbers, or all 4 of those numbers, all tie for the mode. All right, what about if we had a graph? So here's a bar graph, and in this case, it's the same bar graph that was used whenever we had our notes over the graphs. So if we want to find the mode, remember, all mode really means is the option that showed up the most. So for a bar graph, all that means is we look for the highest bar. In this case, the highest bar was chicken, so the mode is chicken. Similarly, for a pie chart, the mode would just be the biggest slice of pie. All right? So in the Would You Try Hot Ones pie chart that we did, the biggest slice was this one right here, which was yes. So the mode was yes. So mode's really useful for things like these charts because mode just means which one won, which one showed up the most. All right, so we're going to get to Excel in just a second for this next example, but I'm going to skip down and talk about this one real quick. All right, so this one's what we're going to call a weighted mean. All right, so Rachel and David need to find their average in class. They have a bet that the person with the higher average receives a free trip to France. The syllabus states that exams 1 through 5 are worth 9% each. The homework is worth 15%. The notes are worth 6%. Projects are worth 9%. And the final is worth 25%. And their grades are below. All right, so Rachel's going to do hers on Excel in just a minute. But first off, I'm going to do mine. All right. So a weighted mean just means that instead of averaging all of these numbers are worth certain percentages. All right. So make sure to pay attention to this part because this part is going to be how you can tell what your average is at the end of this course. This is how we do it. All right. So for David, we're going to look at each of these different parts on their own, and then we're going to place it all together, okay? So first off, exams 1 through 5 worth 9%. So let's look at just exams 1 through 5 first. We're going to take a normal average or a normal mean of exams 1 through 5. All right, so to do that, we're going to add them all up. So 92 plus 95 plus 79, because Rachel's mean and wanted me to get a C on a test, plus 99 plus 82. So that gets us 447. And we're going to divide that by the 5 tests. All right, so it's going to give us 89.4. Just shy of an A. Really, Rachel? Really? All right. So that's the only one that we have to do the mean for, because all the rest of them, as you can see, what is going on with my Word right now? Get out of that. Okay. So all the rest of them are either just one number already or already averages. All right, so we don't have to do anything else. So now we get into those percentages. So the way those percentages work is we multiply them by the average of that category. All right? So, for example, tests 1 through 5 were 9% each, which means exams in total were 45% of the grade. So we take that 45%, we write it as a decimal, so 0.45, and we multiply it by our actual score in that category. So 89.4. Plus, next up, homework was worth 15%. 15% as a decimal is 0.15. And we multiply that by our homework average, which was 79.75. Plus, next up are notes. 6% as a decimal is 0.06 times 100 for notes, which everybody's going to get 100 for notes because everybody's watching this right now, right? Well, if you're seeing this, obviously you are, so good job. All right, 9% will be 0.09 times projects, which again was a 100. And then lastly, one more was 0.25 times the final, which was an 82. All right, so notice that in this calculation, we never actually had to divide by anything. We're just multiplying by the percentages instead of dividing by however many there were. All right, so if you put this long thing into your calculator, like I am doing right now, then you will get 87.6925, and usually our grades are rounded to the nearest hundredth. So you would see that as 87.69%. That would be my final weighted average in the class. So I ended with a B. All right, that said, that's how to do these by hand. And now Rachel is about to take over, come back up here, and talk about how to do these in Excel. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Rachel take over. Rachel, you may want to unmute yourself.
All right, so we're good to go. Hopefully you can see my screen. Are we good to go?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see my Excel?
I see your Word document right now.
All right, well, so we're gonna work on this problem right here. And let me fix the screen sharing because all right, now you can see my screen. Okay, so here's the problem, and we're talking about different temperatures. So January through December, and you may hear this on the news where they're talking about the average temperature for this week in 1993 was blah, blah, blah. Well, same thing here. So what we're gonna do to figure out the average, so I'm gonna put equals. So anytime you wanna enter some kind of formula, you wanna hit equals. And another word for mean is average. And you can see it's right here. All right. And then it has number 1, number 2. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on the first one, and you can either hit shift and then hit your arrow all the way down and then close the parentheses and then hit enter. And so this is the mean. This is the average temperature for that year. Another way that you could do it is you can click on it and then just drag your mouse all the way down. The same thing works. So just keep that in mind. Now let's find the median. So you're gonna hit equals and then type in median, and look, it pops up for you. And same thing, you wanna click on it and you can either drag it down or use your shift key. Close parentheses, and voila, we got the median. Lastly, if we want the mode, I'm gonna hit equals and hit mode, multi, and then drag all the way down. And let's see if there's more than one mode. Nope, only one mode. Otherwise, it would show another number. So here we have our answer in less than what, a minute? Look how fast that was. I think it's just amazing. All right, let's go to the next one. Student grades. So maybe you want to know the average that you received on a test compared to other people. Like your test, how did it compare to the average? Some instructors may throw that out there. So let's try it again. So equals, you're gonna type average, and then click on it and drag it all the way down to the last number, and then close parentheses, enter. And we get 80.6. And then if we want to do median, again, equals, median, and then drag all the way down, close parentheses, and hit enter. And the median pops up. And then the last one is mode. So equals mode. So you drag all the way down, close parentheses, and hit enter. Let's figure out if there's more than one. That's all we got. I'm just gonna erase this extra 72 there because you only have to list them once. All right. So now we get to the weighted mean. These are my grades. And I included the weights. So am I gonna win the free trip to Paris, France? Which is where I wanna go, my next dream trip. All right, so what we're gonna do is the same thing as David showed you. We are gonna calculate it. And you don't have to divide because if you add these up, these weights, they should equal 1. So dividing by 1 is just whatever that number is. So I can just multiply. So your grade and then times your weight plus your grade times your weight plus grade times your weight. And you just do that throughout. Plus grade times the weight 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 plus grade times the weight. Oh, how exciting. All right, so just take a minute. And who do you think is gonna go to France? There's only one way to find out. David, what did you have for a grade? 80 what?
I think it was like an 86, 87.
All right, so let's see, moment of truth. Woo! Who is going to France? Anyway.
To be fair, I don't know who she thinks is buying her this trip, but it's definitely not me.
Anyway, so looks like my average is better. And this just goes to show you, you should definitely do your homework all the time. Make sure you make good grades on your homework. All right, and that covers mean, median, and mode. And just want to say that if you have qualitative data, so like, words and not numbers, you can only find the mode. So what occurs the most, just like ramen and the yes, no question. And that's it. Thanks for watching our video. Bye.
Hi, guys.